You know that feeling when you've got this amazing idea in your head, but actually getting it onto a screen feels like, well, a total nightmare? That is exactly the problem Google's new AI design agent, Stitch, is trying to fix. So in this explainer, we're going to look past all the marketing hype. We're going to see what it actually does, where it falls short, and what it really means for the future of design. All right, let's get into it. I mean, just think about that for a second. Taking an idea you literally scribbled on a napkin and turning it into real working code in under a minute, that's the mind-blowing promise of tools like Stitch. It's a huge shift in how we create things. But the real question, the one we're all asking, is how close are we, really, to making this a reality for everybody? Okay, so to really understand what makes Stitch tick, you have to get the philosophy behind it. It's this concept they're calling vibe design, and honestly, it could be a total game changer. So what exactly is vibe design? Well, it's a huge shift away from the old way of doing things. You're not starting with these super rigid technical blueprints anymore. Instead, you start with the intent, the business goal, the feeling you're trying to create, maybe even just a picture you like. And then the AI becomes your creative partner, taking that vibe and translating it into a real functional UI. So who is actually going to use this thing? Well, it turns out it's for a whole bunch of people. For developers, hey, it means you can build a front end without wanting to pull your hair out over CSS. For startup founders, it's a super fast way to get a polished MVP without having to hire a designer right away. And for designers, it's the perfect cure for that dreaded blank page syndrome. Heck, even for students and teachers, it's an amazing way to see how a design idea translates directly into real code. All right, so we've talked about the big idea, this vibe design concept. Now let's actually pull back the curtain and get into the nitty-gritty of how Stitch works under the hood. The real magic here isn't just the idea of vibe design. It's the seriously powerful AI that's making it all happen. Okay, so here's the official breakdown. Stitch is an AI-native software design canvas straight from Google Labs, and it's built on top of their really powerful Gemini models. That's the secret sauce that lets it understand your text prompts, your messy sketches, even your voice commands. And then, poof, it translates all of that into a responsive user interface and clean front-end code. So when you fire up Stitch, you've got two main ways to work. First, there's standard mode. This one uses Gemini 2.5 Flash, and it is all about speed. You just type in a prompt and it spits out a layout, which is awesome for just getting ideas down quickly. Then you've got the experimental mode. This one's running on the beefier Gemini 2.5 Pro model. Here you can upload a hand-drawn wireframe, even a screenshot, and get a much more high-fidelity design. But, and this is a big but, there's a catch. Right now, you can only export to Figma from standard mode. That's a pretty big deal breaker for designers who want to take that cool sketch-based design and actually work on it. Okay, let's walk through a quick example to see how this plays out in the real world. Say you're building a crypto app. First, you'd pick mobile layout and standard mode. Then you write a pretty detailed prompt, something like a mobile dashboard for a crypto app, dark mode, neon purple and green accents, and so on. In less than a minute, boom, you have a pretty decent design to start with. But here's where the magic really happens. The iteration. You can just keep chatting with it using follow-up prompts like, hey, add a buy sell button, and refine the design conversationally. It's pretty wild. But wait, there's more. Stitch has some seriously powerful features packed in. For one, it can slurp up the entire design system, colors, fonts, everything, from any public website. It can also stitch multiple screens together to make a clickable prototype in seconds. You can even talk to it using voice commands that ask for design critiques. And check this out, it generates a predicted heat map, an attention audit that shows where a user's eyes will probably go first. That's a massive shortcut for user testing. One of the most powerful things about Stitch is how it finally bridges that dreaded gap between design and development. For designers, it exports to Figma with everything as editable layers and components with auto layout. It's clean. Then for developers, it generates clean HTML, CSS, Tailwind, even React code that gives you a fantastic starting point. It's designed to be that seamless handoff that we've all been dreaming of, potentially saving tons of time. Okay, the promise here is obviously huge. I mean, it sounds incredible. But does the reality actually live up to all that hype? Let's dig into what actual users are saying about it. So it sounds pretty revolutionary, right? But does it live up to the hype? Well, as you can probably guess, the answer is it's complicated. Yeah, the feedback from the design community has been, well, let's just say brutally honest. Take this quote from a Reddit user. It really hits on a couple of the biggest complaints, that the designs it spits out are kind of lifeless and basic, and, this is a big one, it doesn't even follow basic accessibility requirements. So let's break it down into some simple pros and cons based on what the pros are saying. On the pro side, yeah, it's great for beating that blank canvas feeling. The Figma integration is also really good. You get those editable layers. And it's decent for just getting some initial ideas for content and flow down fast. But the con list is pretty long. The visuals are generic. The design can be super inconsistent from one page to the next. Layouts are often weak or just don't make sense. And the Figma files it creates can be a real mess to clean up. It's also super sensitive to how good your prompt is. And this quote from the product design consultancy Bitovi, well, it really just says it all, doesn't it? For most real-world use cases, it's easier and faster to just start from scratch. Ouch. That pretty much sums up the problem for a lot of professionals right now. But, okay, despite all these problems right now, Stitch is way more than just a flawed tool. You have to see it as a signpost, a glimpse into where all of this is heading. So let's zoom out for a minute and think about the bigger picture. Let's get one thing straight. AI is not replacing design. What it is doing is redistributing the design work. All those boring, tedious tasks are getting automated, and that's forcing us all to rethink what it even means to be a creator and where our human value really comes from. This right here, this is the new reality of design. Creativity isn't just about drawing the screen anymore. The real creativity, the heavy lifting, is in setting the intent. So in this new AI-driven world, creativity looks a little different. It's about framing the right problem in the first place. It's about choosing the right references, having good taste. It's about evaluating quality and having the guts to reject the generic stuff the AI spits out. It all boils down to clear thinking, writing clear prompts, and having a really strong understanding of what you're trying to build. So you can think of it like this. On one hand, things like manual production, exploration, and iteration, all that stuff gets way cheaper and faster. But on the other hand, the things that become way more valuable are human judgment, good taste, and real strategic intent. These are the skills that the AI just can't copy. And that right there is the biggest takeaway from all of this. The tools can generate, they can create endless options, but it's still people, you, me, the designers, the developers, who have to decide what actually deserves to exist. That is the future of AI-driven design.